So today on The Art of Feeling Better, I thought I would explore an interestingly tricky topic. And it's something that I come across all of the time out in the field. It's something that I've always come across in my work, and I've always been really interested in how to navigate it, because I can see and feel the conflict that's caused by this particular topic. And I've always been trying to sort of dance around and find a way around working with it and explaining it and trying to support people through the processes of understanding it. And that is the topic that more than one thing can be true at the same time. And I think it's the biggest thing as a species and a society that we have to kind of try and wrap our heads around, because everything for me that I work with in terms of supporting people through difficulties is around safety-seeking behaviours, trauma responses. Again, trauma with a big T or trauma with a little t. It's responses that are innately built in to protect us from something and to help us to seek safety. And a lot of that is psychological and emotional safety. And it's what drives people to have to be right. Their perspective on a given subject or given topic or given experience has to be right because it's their experience. And if somebody else disagrees with that perspective, viewpoint, experience, therefore they must be wrong, because it's not okay to be invalidated or for someone to suggest that your experience is incorrect or true or untrue or didn't happen. And there's so much conflict that's caused by that. And I spend my life trying to say to people, we have such unique filters and whole different spectrums, and I piss people off using the word spectrum because of autism spectrum disorder, that we are a very specific thing. But we also live on many, many, many different spectrums. We have different spectrums of identity, of creative talent, of the music that we like, of how physically able we are able to do certain activities and not others, of our thought processes, of our creative abilities, of our likes and dislikes. I always think of it as a mixing desk, right, in my head. Visual, what happens to me. We have this mixing desk, massive, huge mixing desk, and they're all set at different levels because we have different levels of different things that are going on in our lives. And these things are shaped by our past experiences, things, genetic programming, things that we have built into our DNA. They're also influenced by our experiences from a very early age. And each one of us has a very, very different and very unique makeup of all of these things. It's what makes us so amazing and so beautiful, is that we are all so unique. And even people have share the same genes, same genetics, will have completely different experiences. So we can't judge anything at all. We just can't. We have to suspend judgment, and we have to create a space where we're so self-aware and we're so safe in our own bodies that we are able to expand our minds and open our minds enough to have empathy and compassion and understanding for people who have different experiences to us or different viewpoints to us. And, that really is the game changer, isn't it? That reduces any kind of conflict if we can do that, and we can all say, that's really interesting. That's not my experience, but that sounds really interesting. I'm here, I'll listen. What's it like for you? And the other person isn't going, well, no, you're wrong, because that's not how it works. The other person says, well, for me, it's like this, and this is how this works. Wow, so interesting. I can't even relate, because I can't imagine what that must be like, because I don't experience that. But I understand that you do. And I validate your experience, even though it's different to mine. What a radical thought. So this is, for me, is like trying to do all of the work that I do is really edging towards this end game. It's about finding your light. We've said this before. Finding what lights you up, standing in your truth, showing up authentically, understanding who you are, what you're here to do, but not then getting into the space, which so many people do. I have seen the light. I have now completed life on expert level. I am the new guru, and I'm going to tell you all how to do it exactly the same way as I have done. Because that's not okay either. Do your thing. Be solid, be strong, be resilient, be compassionate, be kind, have empathy. You do you, but have the tolerance and the empathy and the understanding and the kindness to understand that everybody else should be doing the same thing, and none of it will be the same. And two things can coexist and be true at the same time. Your truth is no less true than my truth. And we have to start understanding that. It's really difficult. And the only way that I thought I could articulate that, there's a few topics that I want to cover. I don't quite know how to cover them properly. So I'm going to try and wrap a few up in one go. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about something bigger than self, connecting in with something bigger than self. Because one of the most contentious topics is, of course, religion. And that's, this, I'm not even going to go there because my perspective, my viewpoint is so different to yours and yours and yours and yours and yours and yours. And they're all right. They're all valid and worthy. So the topic I want to cover is more about understanding something bigger and being able to express what that means to you and how that looks to you. And what I found really interesting about this was there's been this raging debate for so long, East versus West, spirituality versus science, the old versus the new. And I've had this conversation with loads of people in the past that would just chuckle away thinking, all the same thing. It's all the same. It is all the same thing. We are so caught up in our tiny little humanness and our egos that believe that we know everything already and we're already doing everything we're meant to do, and we actually own planet and we own everything, and what we say goes. It's just, oh God, I'm so embarrassed to be human. It's awful. I'm ashamed of us. And we're so just, what's the word I'm looking for? We're so cocky. We're so egotistical. We're just horrible. We're a horrible species, aren't we? And we need to understand that we don't know shit. I'm just going to put it out there. We don't know shit. We can measure with amazing, incredible technology and modern science what we are able to measure with amazing, incredible modern technology and science. That is all we can measure. And because we are having these amazing technological and scientific advancements, we constantly evolve and develop, and we measure more things. Now, I'm fully in the camp with the quantum physicists, the quantum theorists. They have that scientific mindset, but they can expand that into potential. We actually can't measure that yet, but that's highly likely. Whereas we have the other sort of space that's like, nope, incorrect. I know everything because it's safe for me to believe that everything that I have already measured is the only thing that exists. Because if I can comprehend of something more than that, it's too terrifying, because I do like the unknown and I like to just know what I know and stay within the parameters of my comfort zone. So that for me is like a big one, is trying to get the conversations on the table that actually we don't really know anything. And that's okay. We need to be comfortable with that. We need to get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. We need to get out of our martyr, God complex, megalomaniac, ego-centric spaces that keep us feeling safe because we're at the top of the food chain and we already know everything, and just listen to me and do as I say because it keeps me feeling safe and important. And we need to get into a space where we can all kind of learn and grow and share a bit of wisdom and explore together. My humble opinion, So I thought the best way for me to kind of explore this was to just mention to you subtle energy field, first of all. Subtle energy field. I'm going to wrap up this particular episode with telling you a little bit more about that. I thought the house was collapsing then, but I think it's just somebody with a ladder outside. So it's okay. Drama reverted. You won't even pick that up on the mic, but something really loud just happened. So, going back, well, before I was so rudely interrupted, the subtle energy field, we have to kind of start to all collectively understand that this thing exists, and it's breaking down the language and the assumptions and the viewpoint of the whole woo-woo past kind of framing of anything that is not grounded in traditional Western science and medicine. Has to be completely ridiculous, and it's full of the new age hippie, tree hugger, unicorn stroker brigade. They don't know what they're talking about. We've got to dispel that myth. We really have to. I know it's difficult because it's what we've been programmed to do, but we cannot deny the existence of a subtle energy field that surrounds everything. It is there. The scientists agree that it is there. We know it is there. We have these fiber optic cables that run energy. We don't animate by magic. or isn't magic. So we have to agree that that is there, and we have to understand that we have an element of control over that if we're taught about it properly, which for some reason we are not taught about this. Why are we not taught about this? I will leave that to you to decide. That's what some of us are here to do, to teach everybody about this and to try and pop the lid off that kind of thought process and get people to just dig a bit deeper and just challenge their own assumptions, challenge their own perceptions, challenge what you've been taught previously. Just open your mind and have a little think about something different and use your discernment. And if something feels wrong, it's wrong for you. If something feels right, it's right for you. But don't shut yourself down and don't buy into all the bollocks that you've been told and just assume that it's accurate truth. We have to explore what truth means to us and understand that our truth might be different to somebody else's. That's okay. So what I thought I would do to help along the process, and I'm going to talk very, very shortly at the end. I'm just going to do that again, get a bit more comfortable. It's like Jack and Ori. I'm not even joking. It is literally Jack and Ori today. I'll show you why in a minute. Just need to get. Are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. So this is what I thought I would do for this one. I thought it would help if I show you some of my book collection. So Jane's library. I thought the best way for me to illustrate this concept is to show you some of the books in my library. Now, my whole family, we are avid readers, and I'm really proud of the kids for being complete bookworms because knowledge is power, right? You know that knowledge is power. And the more you can consume and the more you can read, and the fact that, you know, in the past libraries have been burned and books have been burned tells me all I need to know about some of the powers that be not wanting information to be circulated unless it's directly from them. That should worry the life out of you, if nothing else does. Knowledge should be spread and people should then be able to form their own decisions and discern what is right and what is true for them. So I want to do my little version of that today, and I wanted to talk to you about the books that I've got because I wanted to speak about holistic balance. My whole thing is about holistic balance and about balancing all of these things and not just going, well, I have to sit there because that's a box that I'm expected to go in. And I can't be all these things, so I'm just going to pick one and that's my viewpoint. You don't have to do that. You can have a really eclectic mix of thoughts and feelings and knowledge and viewpoints, and you can shift from one to the other. And if something works for you for a while, cool. And then if that changes, that's also cool. You don't need to be stuck in one space. You can explore and you can, you know, your life changes, your viewpoints change, your experiences change. So just allow for that space to happen and never stop learning and just keep exploring. I thought this was a bit of a 2-for-1 because I can give you some book recommendations at the same time as illustrating my point and showing you that I can have some really crazy woo-woo books out there. And I can also have some incredibly scientific books out there. And I love them all and I will absorb that knowledge like a sponge. And I love that fact about myself because it's been a revelation over the last probably 10, 20 years building all my collection up that I can see much bigger picture and the similarities and the crossovers between two very polar opposite and opposing viewpoints that often fight and squabble. When you expand your mind enough to look at all of it and not just try and sit in one camp, you can see you're fighting about the same thing. You might have different language, you might have different measurement metrics, but it's the same thing. Stop squabbling and find common ground, because then that's where the magic happens and we can really, really start to evolve. Unfortunately, we have these two camps going, I'm right, no, I'm right, no, you're wrong. Well, you're wrong, actually, because this is my experience and you must be wrong. Get out of the fear zone, get out of the fear of not being safe and having to be right, and just acknowledge that two things can coexist and are quite often part of the same thing. There are much bigger things at play than we understand in our little human avatar meat suits. Big stuff. Let's just accept that, suspend a bit of judgment and start to explore. So I'm going to show you the first book. I'm going to show you. Thank you to my husband for bringing this across my radar. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Bet you didn't expect that, did you? Really, really good. Very small. Strategy, tactics. Really interesting. Helps you understand leadership. Helps you understand the dynamics of human behaviour and how to operate as a leader and how battlefield operates, which, let's face it, family life sometimes is a battlefield. Good bits of wisdom in here. helps you to understand how the bigger picture works, or in my case, how the system works, with a bit of knowledge. So The Art of War by Sun Tzu. Have a little read about. Let's go from one extreme to the other. So Sun Tzu, The Art of War, followed by The Kitchen Witch. I don't think we could be much more the opposite. Really, really good book. I love this. It's just, I use it all the time. Loads and loads and loads and loads of really ancient old folk remedies, really good understanding around medicine, traditional medicine. I say traditional as in very traditional. And around the home, the hearth, cooking and sharing food together, using plants for medicine, and how we create this beautiful, magical, nurturing home environment. Just ancient, old folk, lots of wisdom in there. It's a beautiful book. I love it. And there's loads of the recipes. There's loads of recipes in here and lots of ideas that focus on very pagan traditions and the turning of the wheel and all of the different seasons and the Sabbaths, which I follow. Really cool. So if you're into that kind of stuff, this is a great book. Then what do we have next? We have my current favourite, Chillpreneur. Incredible book. So if you are out there, Denise Field Thomas, thank you for gifting this to the world, especially to us women. It's amazing. If you're a woman in business, you need this, 100%. And thank you as well to Nick Wagstaff for recommending this book. I've read it 3 times now, and I'm about to read it again. Really, really good book. Then, How to Lift Depression Fast. Human Givens Institute, really, really great. Just really great guys, really brilliant training. I've done a lot of their training, lots of work around emotional intelligence, around the 9 emotional human needs. Really incredible psychotherapy tools in here, and really good techniques and tools to support people in how to shift out of a really bad space in quite easy, simple terms. So that's a really good one. They've got a load of learning materials and literature that I would highly recommend. So have a look at the Human Givens Institute website and you will see. Then we have, let's see, what do I want to look at next? Dialectical Behaviour Therapy Workbook. DBT. Got loads of stuff on CBT and DBT. Really good framework, really good book for tools. So I'm not going to go out there and necessarily start dancing around, encouraging people to hug trees and lick toes, which a lot of people would imagine with me being all unicorn strokey, although I definitely do encourage people to get their shoes off and go and hug trees. I also have very, very good grounding and knowledge and training in some really, really well thought out psychotherapy tools, lots of CBT, lots of DBT. And because I have such a good toolkit, depending on who I'm with and what their frame of reference is and what they respond best to, I have such a toolkit that I can pick things out. I do loads of work with this. There's some great activities and great theory in here as well. So DBT Skill Workbook is really good and really useful. Then, power of neuroplasticity, my favourite topic in the whole wide world. Neuroplasticity links in with absolutely everything that I do, and it's the brain's magical ability to rewire itself throughout life. It's only in the last, 20, 30 years that scientists have realised this, because before, scientists that think they know everything, and then we behave that way and we teach from our school curriculums because the scientists say, well, this is definitely what it is. And then a few years later they go, actually guys, we now have the technology to measure this, and we've realised that we were completely wrong before, and now we want you to do this. Keep this in mind, because neuroplasticity is a relatively new branch of science, neuroscience, and we now do not have these fixed brains that we came here with, and as soon as we were born, our DNA determined exactly what we were going to do, and what we had was what we had, and you couldn't do anything about it. No, my friends. Things can be wired in, and they can also be wired back out again. You have full control over this. The way you do things with your life actively reshapes your entire brain throughout your entire life. Everybody needs to understand this. It needs to be on the curriculum. We need to understand that we have full control over our experiences, and we can reshape our brains. Brilliant book. Now let's have a look at Entrepreneur Evolution. I have lots of books on entrepreneurism. Entrepreneurialism. Really, really cool one. I like this. Lots of hints and tips and thinking about, again, there's lots of things around the brain and how that works in terms of being an entrepreneur, all the different nuances there. It's really cool. There's loads of stuff as well, sort of strategic business stuff in there if you were interested. So good one to read. My favourite that I've read so many times, I love it so much. It is just an incredible book, Shaman Healer Sage. Just brilliant, absolutely brilliant, especially if you are in the more spiritual side of things. It's really, really good book. Really easy to understand. And again, coming from a traditional background, moving into spirituality, the author has a really unique perspective on how you can flip your own mindset and move into a different direction, but still have your original thought process built into that. Really, really cool. Love it so much. I actually want to read that again, even though I've read it so many times. When the adults change, everything changes. If you're a teacher, a TA, a leader in education, a parent, in fact, if you are any kind of human being, you need to read this, because we need to understand that we, as grown-ups, are the problem. Not even part of the problem. We are the problem. When we change our thinking, our feeling, our behaving, we do our own shit, we work on our own stuff, and we create some changes. Everything changes. The world changes. Our children change, and the future generations change. It starts with us. We can't be preaching and telling the kids to do it, because it is us. We are the problem. Read that book. It's great. Then what do we have here? We have Alchemy of Herbs, whole textbook on herbs and plant medicine. Constantly using this with my family, keeping us all fit, healthy, keeping us all in Zen zone, coughs, colds, all the rest of it. We will do everything we can with our tools and strategies before we look to Western medicine. Obviously, with the highest respect to Western medicine, when it's needed, it's needed. I believe it's thrown out there at every twist and turn because it makes the moolah. It's very good business. We don't need half of this stuff. It needs to be field medicine. When nothing else works, then we need medicine and we need surgery. But there are many, many things that we can look to before we get to that point, particularly with preventative medicine. So if you're interested in looking at things like functional medicine, which a lot of medics, a lot of surgeons, a lot of friends of mine who are physicians are starting to move away from that and look at holistic, balanced, functional approaches. Great book. Lovely little resource on everything to do with herbs and plants. Let's look into The Divine Matrix, Greg Braden. In fact, I've missed out the Joe Dispenza ones. I don't know when the collection's gone, but anything by Joe Dispenza is also great. Really, really cool, really brilliant approach. Everything you want to kind of learn about energy and quantum stuff that isn't too jargonistic with the science. Greg Braden's brilliant at translating that, and it will blow your mind, because you'll start to think very differently and you'll start to connect the dots between science and spirituality. So Divine Matrix is a really good book for that. Then we have History of Women in Medicine. Really cool. Talks a lot about us as witches. No green faces, no pointy hats. Just a lot of nasty stories by the powers that be to make healers and medicine women into the villains and the baddies. We're going to have a whole podcast episode on this coming up soon, so keep an eye out for that. But this is a really good book if you want to understand a bit more about how the concept of witchery came around and how medicine women have developed over the centuries. So yeah, that's a really cool one. And then we'll go into looking at quantum physics. Our book on quantum physics. I've got lots of books on quantum physics, quantum mechanics, nonlinear dynamics. Who would have thought that a makeup artist would all of a sudden be into this kind of high-level science? Not me, but here we are. Absorb it like a sponge. I love it. Then we have, going from one to the other, quantum physics to lost crafts. This is my little Bible of all the lost heritage crafts that we are absolutely losing this ancient wisdom of how to create and make and build and mend things ourselves with our own hands and with our own natural resources that we find. So I don't want that to be lost. So there's things like making butter from scratch and different kinds of fishing techniques and how to create fabrics from scratch and all this kind of cool stuff, how to lay a hedge. Lost crafts. I don't want to be lost, so I have them in my library. You fancy a bit of DMT? DMT, dimethyltryptamine. No, I am not peddling drugs, and no, we don't need to be looking at the bad side of this. This is a really cool piece of work by a doctor about the spirit molecule and about what we don't know yet, and all of the concepts around the pineal gland and dimethyltryptamine and how breathing techniques and manipulating the spinal fluid to be able to compress these little crystals in our pineal gland to explode these vibrant colours and all these lovely trippy experiences, which, I've been doing my shamanic journey work, breath work, drumming, trance work for many years now, and I don't think you need any substances. Controversial topic for me. That's my truth. I don't need substances because it's all here in your brain. You just have to learn. So learn what's in your brain. Really cool. A doctor's revolutionary research into the biology of near-death and mystical experiences, but it really explains the potential that we have as humans and in our brains, specifically around this particular substance called DMT, dimethyltryptamine. Then we have final one in my collection for today. I'm going to tell you about the tapping solution. So again, it all connects in. So very woo-woo. You can't just stand there tapping away and expect there to be any kind of stupid woo-woo silly techniques. Read. Connect it with this. Connect it with this. Connect it with this. It's all the same shit, my friends. All the same thing. We have this fibre optic connections through our body, which is so subtle and so complex. We can interrupt the flow of electricity through our bodies. We can have blockages, which people have been working on for years. I'm a Reiki master. You've got chi, you've got ki, you've got breath work. We're talking about prana. We're talking about all kinds of different things that different disciplines have different language for. But there are some really simple, really straightforward, amazing techniques that are now coming out that combine the two. But we have this sort of energy field that I mentioned at the beginning. And if there is a blockage somewhere in your subtle energy field, in your chi, in your ki, then you're going to have a physical problem. And this energy moves, and it's supposed to move through. And I've mentioned before, emotion is energy in motion. And if we have an experience where our energetic bodies get sluggish or something gets stuck in a certain space, then eventually the physical symptoms will follow on from that. We end up with these physical symptoms that we will then hand our power away and go and ask someone to fix us with a pill or with something else, when actually we have the solution within our body. We can self-heal to a great degree, more than we're aware of. And tapping or EFT is a really, really cool way to look at that. You can go on YouTube and find some great ways of doing it. I've used it to reduce pain in all kinds of different situations, overwhelm, anxiety, lift depression, migraine, all kinds of things. I will always use it as my go-to really sort of quick fix. If I'm experiencing something intense, anything intense, tapping usually helps break the circuit. And it does break the circuit. There is a multitude of scientific evidence to show just tapping on your head, stupid, tapping on your collarbone releases that, unblocks and helps to reconnect the circuit. Similar to how we use our hands as practitioners to harness, direct and rechannel electrical energy to support people when we do woo-woo hands-on healing. It's all based in science. We just need to open our minds a little bit to explore and understand the connections between, rather than just writing things off at the very beginning. And to finish this interesting session, I wanted to just get you to do a little bit of homework and have a little look into something called the Schumann resonance. If you've not come across the Schumann resonance, it was a little bit of a game changer for me when I came across this, because it kind of solidified and confirmed a few things to me that I already knew instinctively. And my work as an energy healer and as a practitioner for years, with a massively fascinating interest in the science, it kind of combined the two together and made me think, something in that blends these two together for me. So the Schumann resonance is the electromagnetic field that surrounds planet Earth. It's 7.83 hertz. And if you think of the Earth as our little ball there, it will go up, out, round and back in, like a donut. It's called toral field. Its energy is a constant recyclable battery. It just renews. And this kind of goes towards explaining how we are all connected, because this is the Earth's heartbeat. 7.83 hertz also happens to be the exact frequency of our electromagnetic field. There can't be coincidence there. We have to be connected. Everything has to be connected by energy. Matter is just collapsed energy. There's so much research you can do into that. It will blow your mind, but it's a really, really worthwhile topic to explore. And if you have a look at the Schumann resonance, there's certain times, that things have happened on the planet and there's been a massive spike scientifically plotted and seen happening with the Schumann resonance. When something happens and we collectively have a response to that, it affects the Schumann resonance of the planet. So you have to kind of start to think about this a little bit differently. And if that is a thing and a scientifically provable thing, then if we each as individuals have the potential to understand and work with and manipulate's the wrong word, but and work with and use our own little toral field, our own little electromagnetic current, and we have the ability to harness, direct and release our energy in a certain way. Once we get a grip of that and we get to understand that and work with it properly, we're not relying on the odd person, the odd practitioner, to constantly try and just fix this, let's just reboot this. You'll be able to do it yourself. You'll be able to understand and work with it on a daily basis. Your life will change, your health will change, your attitude will change. It really is a big thing that we should all be looking at and we should all be learning from a very early age, in my opinion. If you want to delve deeper down that rabbit hole, there's a lot of work. In fact, my favourite book, and I've lent it out again, Celestine Prophecy. If you haven't read it, it's an epic adventure. So it's a story, but there's a lot of wisdom and a lot of information in there that will help you along your journey to understanding some of this stuff. And there's a lot of work in there around how we accidentally manipulate energy because we don't know what else to do unless you understand how this works. We tend to go through life playing into control dramas, and you'll see it everywhere because we desperately need to rebalance our own energy. And we'll either take it by being aggressive, we will take it from somebody else because we have to fill our tank up, or we'll be excessively needy and we will be draining people dry in the other way because they will pour their energy into us to make us feel better. So we're in this space where not many of us have this ability to actually rebalance ourselves. And those that do are probably like myself. I have that skill and I have for many, many years, but I still then leak it out because I'm trying to then fix everybody else. Still part of my own control drama, my own trauma drive, but getting closer to balancing with the right way of doing things and my own purpose. Still got a long way to go though. But if everybody can pass it on, pass it on like the touch paper, then you go and like the touch paper. Everybody can get a handle of this and gets to experience this and understand it and work with it. Surely that has to make a difference because everybody will be far more in control of their own energy and their own health. It's just difficult when you can't see something. There's a very famous saying, seeing is believing. Well, can you see electricity when it runs through your house? Not really. You turn the light switch off and you know it's going to be there. So try and apply that same principle that, you might be able to see a physical cut on you, or you might be able to see and feel things in the physical. But that's not the only truth that there is. There's much more going on there that we're not yet aware of, and that we probably won't be in our lifetime be able to accurately measure. Doesn't mean it's not there. Doesn't mean it's not happening. Doesn't mean we can't work with it with the limited knowledge that we do have. And we need to look further back to how people have always done it and done it well. So that ancient wisdom is really, really important. Bringing it up to date with our modern science, measuring what we can, creating a better understanding and a better framework is certainly the way to go, as far as I'm concerned. I'm going to put all my books back in my library now. I'm going to select one to read again, and I'm going to look for some new material, new learning to keep my brain firing and activate that neuroplasticity and create some new neural connections, create some new skills, new techniques. Always good to learn something new. And just remember, there is more than one truth. What's true for you might not be true for somebody else, and vice versa. And it's okay for people to have different experiences, and it doesn't mean that they're wrong if their experience isn't the same as yours. It's all about compassion and just listening and validating and hearing somebody else's story and somebody else's perspective without trying to convince them that it's wrong and that your experience is the right one. With that little nugget of wisdom, I will leave you for this session, and I look forward to seeing you next week for another episode of The Art of Feeling Better. Bye for now.